What is up, guys? Welcome back here to another Rise of Kingdoms content. As you guys can see, we have again a legendary commander tier list for Rise of Kingdoms. I want to say thank you to ROK.guide for creating this infographics. Don't forget to check out ROK.guide for your daily help. Now, as you can see with our legendary commander tier list, we have Artemisia, Theodora, Zenobia, Attila, Guan Yu, Ramses, Yi Sun-sin, Chandragupta, and Nebuchadnezzar. Now, majority of these commanders are garrison or rallier. Now, for me, the way I grade my S tier are going to be the commanders that are going to be captains. In my book, the captains hold a lot of value compared to the open field, especially if these captains can also perform in the open field battle. Now, not just that, but if these captains also excel in their own respective role as rallier or defender, even if they are not the best in the open field, in my book, they are still an S tier, because then they are going to be housing too many troops for everybody. And knowing that these commanders are excellent is very important for a lot of players. Now, keep in mind that this tier list is for everyone from the beginning of the game until the current progression right now. Now, some of you guys might think, oh, my commander is in A tier. They are not good then. They are not the best. Now, that's not really the way that how we should be looking into this. Our A tier is extremely good. Now, keep in mind that your S tier will need to be combined with your A tier to become really great. As you know, in Rise of Kingdoms, we have primary commander and secondary commander. Now, the B tier are the ones that are not really the best anymore, and I would say maybe those are the commanders that you don't really focus for your long-term gaming. I would really focus onto this S tier and A tier commanders. And of course, the C and D tier are not going to be the ones that are going to be your favorites, in my opinion. Now, some of you guys may love your commanders. You have your own favorite historical commanders, and I just don't want you to feel too bad if they are not in the list of the higher tier. I know a lot of players love Julius Caesar, especially when he first came out in the first Mightiest Governor. Everybody wants him because he is the mighty Julius Caesar. But in the long-term playing, he is not really the best commander out there. Now, as we look into the S tier in here, as you can see, each respective type of units and as well as leadership, they have their own S tier. This is why we have an archer S tier in their list, infantry S tier, cavalry S tier, and as well as leadership S tier. And remember, in these tier, there are always going to be countering each other as well. Now, we deem Artemisia here as an S tier because Artemisia can still perform well in the defense and as well as really good in the open field battle as well and the canyons. Now, Theodora, as you already know, Theodora is really great into the defense as well. Really the counter for the Attila and Takeda setup. And Zenobia, definitely a wonderful commander, but then can be broken down by archers. But Zenobia can counter against the mighty Attila and Takeda with the infantry setup in there. Now, as you can see, Attila is still here in the S tier. We did not downgrade Attila because Attila is still mighty and strong. And as much as I am not a big fan of cavalry, I still accept that Attila is really a dangerous commander to face with. Now, considering there are now commanders that counters Attila, but there are still players that don't have all these commanders, and when Attila hits them, it is still going to be very deadly. Now, Guan Yu, amazing commander, silence, active skill, silence is super deadly. If you haven't seen the video that we have, make sure to check it out. And Ramses, of course, Ramses and YNC, the combinations, the ultimate meta archers right now. For me, until I get my new archer setup in here, Yi Sun-sin, we've seen great, amazing things with Yi Sun-sin, mixed troops. Able to house that mixed troop is very important. Having that great leadership commander. Chandragupta, a very amazing cavalry commander. Having that ability to stack that bless and hit a lot of the damage from there. Nebuchadnezzar, another amazing commander for the archers. Very deadly and very strong. Nebuchadnezzar is going to be the rally leader for the archers as it comes out. Now, when we look into the A tier in here, these guys are really solid and they're really great. Wu Zetian, even though we kind of downgraded Wu Zetian now, used to be an S tier. With the newer commanders out there, Wu Zetian is just not, the perfect S tier anymore. So that's why she is an A tier. She is still good, especially leading up into the later stages of the game. Now Harold in here, Harold has been really good, but Harold only really works really well in the open field march when you have to fight with hundreds of people in the battlefield, as that ability to counter when he is being swarmed. Genghis Khan used to be an S tier commander, now downgraded into A tier. Now, Genghis Khan is still a commander, what, Puddle Kicks would say as a glass cannon, has Genghis Khan cast skill rapidly. And, Genghis Khan is still good moving speed, but he's just not the S tier dominating commander as he used to be. Now, Edward of Woodstock, as much as I love Edward of Woodstock, when he came out, Edward of Woodstock kind of slowed down into not really the best archers anymore. As Ramses came out, Ramses kind of took the spot from Edward. But Edward is still a fine commander. Now, Constantine, a very well commander, great to use for defense, great for canyons, have a lot of abilities in there, but we do not rank Constantine as an S tier because there are far more better commanders for Constantine in here. Now, Richard is still a very good commander. Now, some people may rank Richard as an S tier. In my book, Richard is not an S tier. Richard is an A tier because Richard cannot really defend structure. He is not like Zenobia, to where, Zenobia has some healing and as well as high damage as well. Alexander, another wonderful commander, one of my favorite for infantry commander. Alexander is a great open field commander, tanky, and as well as RNG based, though the problem with him is RNG based, but he is really good, works well in canyon as well. Now Cyrus, in my opinion, Cyrus is something that I will definitely enjoy in the open field. Now the difference between Cyrus and Nebu is that Nebu has that conquering ability than Cyrus, but Cyrus, I believe he is going to be very devastating in the open field battle. Now Tomyris, I love Tomyris because she is not only a devastating archer commander, she is also a support. She is going to be able to put some poison stack, and your allies can benefit on that poison stack, as that poison stack will add increased skill damage. Now in my book, I would probably rank Tomyris as an A+ commander. It's a really great combination with Artemisia and Tomyris. If you've seen it, it's really deadly, really strong. When using Tomyris, it increases up that attack stats of the archers. Saladin and William, wow, wonderful combination. We have just seen a 5-5-5-1 Saladin and William, for both of them, destroy my setup as a maxed out legendary commanders. If you haven't seen that video, make sure to check that one as well. Takeda, wonderful commander, great pairing for Attila. Some people have said that Takeda needs to be S tier with Attila. For me, no, I think Takeda needs to be in the A tier. I know that combination works well, but it doesn't mean that way. There's also the talent tree that we need to look into. Attila having that attack talent tree really boosts him up in there in the S tier as well. Leonidas is a great pair for Guan Yu. If you haven't seen that video that we talked about earlier, make sure to check it out. Guan Yu, Leonidas really needs that Guan Yu to really benefit, right, with the silence and really piggyback on Guan Yu's skill. Trajan, now this is a commander that I would say has some potential, greatness, but right now we're just going to put him as an A tier because I see some potential for him, but I highly doubt a lot of players are actually going to be investing on Trajan, so we will see. YSG, now YSG, wonderful and a very fan favorite commander for majority of the players. Everybody love YSG, but as the game progress, YSG becomes, because there are other commanders that are better than YSG. Now I've always mentioned this, Ramses of YSG is super great because of its ability to hit hard, with YSG's ability to increase the skill damage as well as gain rage. But still, YSG cannot be a primary anymore in this age, and when you pair YSG up with somebody else, it's really difficult because YSG is not a tanky commander, and I would never try to use YSG as a garrison commander anymore. Now we do have YSG as a garrison commander in here and the legends in here. That's because YSG has that category of a garrison, but personally I would not be using YSG in a garrison because YSG in your garrison will just melt. Now I understand that there is an AoE. Yeah, it's really not going to be the most beneficial in the long term because a lot of players now are very smart on avoiding AoE. Now, I'm not saying YSG is bad. YSG is amazing. I love YSG. I still use YSG, especially with Ramses and YSG, but there are certain scenarios where I wouldn't use YSG. Charles Martel, a very good commander, similar to Richard, first gen commander, and still very usable in this age still. Now, one thing I want to highlight here in the A tier is that everybody should definitely have a Richard and YSG. These are some of the commanders that will have a very much like a long-term value, especially if you're doing Barbarian Chain method. Richard and YSG is going to be your best help for that type of situation. Among all of this in the A tier, I would say Richard and YSG is a must to have for every player in Rise of Kingdoms. Now, B tier, we kind of go through this a little bit in here. I'm just going to highlight in here some of the things. El Cid, I think it's going to be really, really great with Cyrus. We've talked about that in the video with Puddle Cakes. Make sure to check that out. Minamoto Cao Cao, you know, I don't really use it a whole lot, just for hunting farmers or doing barbarian forts. Now, Mehmed in here is a golden key commanders as well as Cao Cao and El Cid. I personally wouldn't be using universal sculptures on Mehmed, but Mehmed can really work well in the canyons. Lubu, honestly, I wouldn't even put anything on Lubu. I know other people, talked about Lubu. Maybe they've invested on Lubu. Honestly, I would rather for you to invest somebody else than going for Lubu. Now, Mulan. Mulan is great. Looking at the stats of Mulan, ability to really play as a support in the battlefield. But let's be realistic. There's not a lot of players who are really going for Mulan. I mean, even for me, I don't think I am going for Mulan. Yeah. I'm not going to be dumping any universal sculptures on Mulan, so that's something that you guys really need to look into as well as you guys are grading. Let's be realistic. Mulan is great, but if there is Joan of Arc, I would rather use Joan of Arc because it's cheaper. Now, until I max out Mulan from the Golden Key, then I would say she would still be a B commander because she wouldn't really be a priority for majority of the player. Aethelflaed was really great. I think, before I would rate her as an A tier, but now with the many commanders are coming out, I don't think she is an A tier anymore, coming into B tier. We have seen battle testing with Aethelflaed, it just melts. Moktu Zuma, we don't really have a lot of information with Moktu Zuma. We're going to be rating him as in the B tier. He's going to be a peacekeeping commander. Honestly, being generous with Moktu Zuma, maybe there's a potential use for him, but I doubt many players will really invest on Moktu Zuma. But I would say, in my opinion, if I'm going to be less generous, he would be into the C tier. Frederick is still a great commander, but let's be realistic. In the later stages of the game, you barely see Frederick anymore. That's why we are ranking Frederick into the B tier now. Besides that, we have our Caesar and Hannibal Barca into the C tier. Really, that's being fair for those two commanders. And of course, Charlemagne into the D tier. Now, let me know what you guys think about this commander tier list. And of course, you guys might have some favorites and they are not in the higher tier. I understand that everybody has their own respective grading. I'm sure if you discuss it with somebody else as well, it's going to be very different as well. But this is the legendary commander tier list for 2021. Until we get more updates, we will change our commander tier list. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys find this very helpful. I will see you again next time.